911. What's your emergency trainer down? Orca has him. We need help now. It was supposed to be a flawless performance, a breathtaking moment of connection between man and beast, but in the space of seconds a trusted bond turned into a life struggle. What happened that day wasn't just an accident, it was the tragic end of a warning that had been ignored for years. This is the story of Sam Collins, a beloved Orca trainer, a devoted father, and a man whose connection with a killer whale ran deeper than most could ever understand, but that bond forged through trust and repetition would ultimately lead him to a fate no one saw coming. These were his final terrifying moments. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to their channel and share it to help shine a light on the hidden dangers in marine entertainment. Your support helps us keep telling the stories that need to be told. Before the tragedy, before the headliness, there was just a man and a dream. Sam Collins didn't grow up by the sea. He grew up in Iowa cornfields. Dry summers, not an ocean in sight, but when he was 10, his parents took him to Oceanland, a marine park in California. That day changed everything. He didn't care about booth rides, not the funnel cake. He only had eyes for the whales. He watched it transfixed as a trainer dove into the pool and swam beside a creature 5 times their size. That image never left him. By 22, Sam had a degree in marine biology and a job offer from the Pacific Marine Institute, one of the most high-profile aquatic facilities in the country. But Sam didn't just want to study whales, he wanted to know them. Colleagues described him as the calm in the chaos, while other trainers shouted commands. Sam whispered where others relied on discipline. Sam relied on empathy. Sam didn't train with force, he banded with them. He'd sit beside that hunk for hours, just talking to them, reading, even singing. He used to say, "They already understand, we just need to listen." Sam kept notebooks, pages filled with thoughts, behaviors, sketches. He believed each orca had a distinct personality. Humans, some were playful, some shy, others unpredictable, and one was all three. His name was Nakoa. Nakoa was an ordinary orca, born in captivity, 6 tons of muscle, grace and mystery. He didn't perform like the others, didn't follow cues as easily. He often hovered alone at the far end of the tank, watching waiting. Trainers saw him as difficult. Sam saw him as misunderstood, and over the next 8 years they built something that few outside their world could comprehend, a bond. Their partnership became legendary within the institute. During shows, Nakoa responded only to Sam's voice. He let Sam place a hand on his tongue, a move that most trainers wouldn't dare attempt. They trusted each other completely, but beneath the surface something darker was brewing, something no one, not even Sam, could fully see, because no matter how strong the bond, captivity changes everything. In captivity, even love has limits. Concrete tanks cannot contain the ocean, and over time they cannot contain the mind. Nakoa was changing, not over and not all at once, but in quiet, rubling ways. He stopped responding to familiar signals. He ignored reward, refused food altogether. He began watching Sam not like a friend, but like a stranger in his water. Trainers called it behavioral drift, a slow unraveling of learned behaviors, emotional detachment, and in some cases escalation. It wasn't aggression, it wasn't fear, it was just blank. Like a curtain had dropped behind his eyes. He wasn't Nakoa anymore. He wasn't nothing else. Something's wrong with Nakoa. He stares at me like he's trying to remember who I am, or maybe forget. Head and take the herring. Today he dove and stayed down for a long time, longer than he ever has before. He used to follow me when I walked around the tank. No, he turns away. Some said it was boredom. Others whispered the word oppression, an unspoken truth in marine parks. Orcas in captivity often displayed the same symptoms seen in human suffering: prolonged psychological trauma, isolation, repetition, confinement. Eventually it breaks something in them. But Sam wasn't ready to give up. To Sam, Nakoa wasn't a threat. He was lost, and believed that the trust they'd built over nearly a decade, could bring him back. He thought he could fix it, rebuild what they had. I think he didn't believe Nakoa could hurt him, not relent it ever, but sometimes love became staniel, and in the quiet between two hearts something irreversible can begin to form. Because while Sam searched for Orca, he once knew something else was awakening in Nakoa, something cold, something ancient, and some with gun control. May 14th, 2021. The sun hadn't yet burned through fog. It was the kind of morning Sam loved, quiet, cool, still. No screaming crowds, no music, no applause, just him and the sound of water lapping at the edge of the tank. He was scheduled to run a free swim session, a kind of bonding time. Trainer and whale, no audience, no stunts, just water, silence, and trust. Nakoa was already at the surface, floating like driftwood, still motionless. Watching Sam called to him a familiar whistle, a nickname, nothing. He offered herring. Nakoa turned away, but Sam wasn't at. This wasn't the first time Nakoa had pulled away. He thought hope it would pass. The others noticed it. A weight in the air, like standing beneath a dark cloud that hadn't quite started to storm. Still, Sam suited up at 7:46 a.m. Sam entered the water, a familiar motion, one he'd done hundreds of times, but this time something changed. Ed gave the signal, a gentle tap on their surface, a sound Nakoa had known since he was a calf, a sign of peace, a request for connection, and Nakoa responded, but not like before. There was no playful breach, no chirps or clicks, just silence and a slow, deliberate approach. Like a shadow moving through glass. To the others watching, something felt wrong, but it was too late to call him back, because the time Sam realized the silence wasn't calm, it was already beginning. It all happened in less Then 6 seconds that would change everything for Sam, for Nakoa, and for everyone who followed them. Nakoa didn't swim towards Sam, charged a sudden, terrifying force that broke the water surface with a violent splash. The first hit was brutal. Sam felt the impact in his chest, the air knocked out of his lungs. His legs buckled, and before he could even react, Nakoa's massive body collided with him, sending him crashing into the cold, unforgiving water. But Sam couldn't fight it, not now, before he could even regain his breath. Nakoa, in one swift movement, clamped down. Nakoa's jaw locked around Sam's waist, and like a predator pulling its prey into the depths, he dragged Sam under. The radio crackled, but it didn't matter. Sam was already gone underwater, struggled beneath the surface. Sam fought not out of fear, but out of instinct, the will to survive. He reached head for the emergency whistle, but it was. He signaled Nakoa with his hand, trying to make eye contact. Nothing. The eyes that once trusted him were no hollow. There was no connection. On Lipo, a raw, uncontrollable power. And in those moments, Sam realized something. Nakoa wasn't playing. This wasn't a miscalculation. This was a choice, a primal, terrifying shift that no one could have anticipated. The ocean may forgive, but captivity doesn't. Beneath it, cold, glassy surface, Sam's fight was over. The orca's grip had tightened, and the man who once swam beside him, trusting him, loving him, was now at the mercy of a force he could never have prepared for. In those final moments, Sam didn't scream. He didn't struggle, hadn't fight. He simply let go. They say drowning isn't painful. It's a strange surrender to the water, but for Sam there was no peace. There was only the slow, inevitable fading of everything loved. This wasn't a stranger pulling him under. This wasn't some faceless enemy in the deep. This was a Nakoa, a creature. He had spent his life bonding with a creature he had trusted with his shot. As the air slipped from his lungs, Sam's thoughts weren't of fear, they weren't of survival. He wasn't thinking about what was happening. He wasn't thinking about himself. He thought about his daughter, her name, her smile, the way she would run to him every day after school, arms outstretched, laughing. He thought about his wife waiting at home with life. He had built a future that would never come, but above all, he thought about Nakoa, the orca, who had been his partner, the one he had loved like no other. Was this how it had to end? Is this the final lesson in trust, in loyalty, in love? In the depth of the ocean where light fades in time, slow, Sam hoped desperately that this wasn't the end, but the world above had already moved on. In the silence beneath the water, his fate was sealed. It didn't take long for the rescue teams to reach Sam. The water was still too, but it didn't matter. His body, limp and battered, was pulled from the depths, lifeless, yet still warm. Sam's ribs were shattered, his lungs filled with salt water. His heart, and strong, steady, now fought to keep him alive, but it was a fight he couldn't win. They transported him to the hospital, a small army of medics desperate to keep him breathing, to bring him back, but deep down everyone knew at 3:17 a.m. the fight was over. Sam, Colin's a father, a husband, a trainer, a friend, was gone. His last recorded word, whispered to the EMTs, forgive. The epic was flooded with mourners. There were no cheers, no applause, just silence, a collective grief that stretched across lives. Sam had touched friends, colleagues, strangers. They came, they stood, they remembered, and yet there was no justice, no closure. Nakoa was Muveto, another facility. No charges were filed, no punishment, just a quiet relocation, another cage, another tank of a place to drift endlessly in thistlelands, the kind that swallowed Sam's life. Became permanent in the end. Sam didn't just lose his life, he lost his dream, and in the quiet of the ocean's depths, even the orcas were left with nothing but memory. Sam Collins believed in something rare. He believed that compassion was stronger than control, that love, real love, could bridge the gap between species, that the orcas he cared for could be understood even in captivity. But the truth is, an orca's mind is as vast as the ocean. It's meant to swim. It cannot be contained. It cannot be confined. And when we cage them, we cage ourselves. Sam's story is not just tone of loss. It's a story of a dream and a warning about the cost of control, the illusion of safety, and the dangerous line between trust and nature. What if Sam had been right? What if their creatures we cage are the ones who truly cage us? Let Sam's legacy be something more than just a tragedy. Let it remind us of the price we pay for ignoring through, of the cost we incur when we fail to truly see the creatures we claim to love, and the irreversible consequence of mistaking captivity for care. If Sam's story moved you, if you believe in the importance of compassion and freedom for all creatures, take a stand. Support organizations fighting for the rights of marine life by clicking the subscribe button. Educate yourself about the true cost of captivity, and never forget, true connection doesn't come from control, it comes from understanding. Share the history, share the truth, in memory of our lives lost, both human and animal, in theme of entertainment.